Cowboys can generally be described by many traits: stoic, gritty, rugged, fearless, at times lonely, honor bound, loyal, and of course, tough. But how tough? On their 1978 hit song, Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings pleaded, "Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys," but I never really understood why they would say that.
I've had my head caved in twice, had both my knees popped out, both legs broke. In Coffeyville, Kansas, 69, the bull stepped my back, broke my ribs, stuck to my lung. Luckily, a doctor was there. He stuck a needle in the back of my back and drained all the blood out, or I'd have died right there. I've had my face crushed completely. Side here, bull stepped on it. My nose broke twice. But it's all, you know it's there. You got to do it.
Okay, yeah, maybe they had a point. It's Horses on Film. Howdy, y'all. Welcome to episode 11 of Horses on Film. I'm your host, Cameron Chapman, and this is the podcast dedicated to determining the top 100 Westerns of all time. We're starting, of course, with the Indiewire list. Came out in 2024. From there, we're adding, subtracting, we're flipping things around. We're going to, pull things off the list, put it on the list, and then hopefully come up with a new list that we can be proud of. So thank you for joining us on our little journey through the Old West here. And I'm joined, of course, by my co-hosts, Dave and Scott. Welcome. Hello.
Howdy, howdy.
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 I could go through all my injuries that I get at hockey, but I'm not going to. I am nursing a few things right now, as I usually am, but that's just,
Anything injures you more than rodeo hockey.
Beer league hockey, I don't know why I'm out there blocking shots and taking sticks to the face and losing teeth over it, but here I am.
That's a Canadian moment right there.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So. At least I'm not in rodeo, because that sounds unbelievable.
I have an uncle in rodeo down in Arizona, and I asked him before I watched the film his thoughts, and he hasn't seen the film, but he gave me some behind the scenes of what it's like, and then I watched the film and went, wow, this is not too far off that. So
Dave and I have cousins in rodeo, and our parents have cousins way back into chuck wagons. Orville Strangquist rode chuck wagons right into his 70s at the Calgary Stampede, and I'm sure they were all nursing injuries at all times,
constantly.
Our last episode was I've been pretty honest that it's one of my favorite movies, Day of the Outlaw, from 1959. It now stands in 5th place out of 10. We've done our first 10. It's in 5th place. I'm pretty happy about that. It got a 15.5 out of 20 for an average of 3.875. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's going to move up on this list. What do you guys think?
I'm happy for it to move up.
Yeah. It's such a good little movie. The more I watch it, the more I enjoy it, and it makes me kind of want to watch other Westerns too, which is kind of a sign of a good genre film.
I went back and watched it again, and actually, I think my review was about right. But I'm happy. I think that's about right for it, and it will move up. There's no doubt in my mind. So
I hope so. That's great. I love it. Sorry,
I was going to say, I think this is the first time we've done 2 back-to-back numbered, because this is 50.
Yeah.
That was 51, and this is 50.
Yeah, we randomly generate these numbers, other than the first one, which I wanted to start with, Unforgiven. But we went from 51 to 50. So I'm curious to see if we get a similar rating, or I feel like the ratings on this is going to be way different from what the Indiewire list. That's just it. They're the 100 best of a genre. We're gonna pretty much like all of them.
Well, And if we were just going to end up with their numbers anyway, we might as well just left their list alone.
Yeah, what's the point of us
yeah.
being here? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting that these ended up back to back. We also squeezed off, in the meantime, we aired an off the list bonus episode about Hell or High Water, 2016's Hell or High Water. And that got pretty good ratings from all of us too. It received 13 out of 15 from the three of us for an average of 4.333, which would put it at number 2 on the list. It puts it above Unforgiven, behind Dances with Wolves. So I'm hoping, when we do our list, maybe that's a top 10er.
Also, that was 2016. This is 2017, so we're following year on year. I think that's the first time we've done that as well. So,
okay,
2017, this one, 2016, Hell or High Water.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're right in there. Okay.
Yeah.
This one is The Rider. Do you guys want to get started and just jump right into it?
We have 2 lovely guests today. I don't see why not.
Yeah. Why keep them waiting?
Why keep
Exactly.
them waiting?
So we'll put up this.
That's
Maverick.
And a little. Oh, that's Maverick.
Yeah.
That is Maverick.
Spoilers.
Yeah, we are going to do a bonus episode on Maverick, which is going to be great.
I do have the right thing on the synopsis, though, so we'll just go straight into the synopsis.
Sure.
Once a rising star of the rodeo circuit and a gifted horse trainer, young cowboy Brady is warned that his riding days are over after a horse crushed his skull at a rodeo. In an attempt to regain control of his own fate, Brady undertakes a search for a new identity and what it means to be a man in the heartland of the United States.
Yeah, so this is The Rider, 2017, written and directed by Chloe Zhao. She did Nomadland, for which she won the Oscar for, I think, Best Picture, Best Director. She did The Eternals, which is a Marvel movie. Songs My Brothers Taught Me. Most recently, Hamnet, which I just saw got a Golden Globe nomination for her for Best Drama and Best Director. By the time this airs, I'm sure she's maybe been in the Oscar conversation. Zhao met horse trader Brady Janro in July of 2014 when she went back to the Pine Ridge Reservation where she shot her first film. He was training horses. She was really inspired by the way he worked with the animals and thought, I'm going to write a script for you. This was all before his accident. So the story that she told ended up evolving quite a bit from there. The film was shot in the Badlands of South Dakota from September 3rd to October 9th, 2016. It stars Brady Janro, his father Tim, his sister Lily, and Brady's best friend, bull rider Lane Scott. They were all non-actors, all very natural, and kind of playing versions of themselves. It's loosely based on his real life injury where on April 1st, 2016, a horse stepped on his skull, created a 3-inch horse hoof shaped gash in his skull, grinding manure, hair, and sand into his brain, which caused him to go into a seizure and then eventually a 5-day coma. And this film contains real footage of that injury. What he's watching on his iPhone is him really getting hurt. But let's bring in our guests. We've got filmmakers, podcasters, and artists, Megan Wesselmajor and Sandra Lynn Trent. I think, I don't know if you're muted. Can you hear us? Can you
hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. All good. All good.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so you guys host the Albertans in Space podcast, which is fantastic. And your season 2 is about to come out very soon. What's it about?
We talk to all sorts of Albertans who are contributing to the space conversation. It's been very enlightening. I'm the lay person. I'm the lovable idiot that knows very little about the subject matter, but the co-host. And the reason we started this podcast, his name is Zach Trolley. He was one of the finalists for that weird I think it was a Dutch billionaire back in 2013 that wanted to send people to Mars on a one-way trip. He was one of the 700 finalists. And when Zach and I were talking about doing a documentary about it, because it seemed like there was nothing about it, and we wanted to know more about how it ended, we found out, or I found out, that there were about 4 or 5 Albertans within that 700 globally recognized, short list to go to Mars. And I'm like, why? How is that possible? I never would have thought that Albertans would be part of that conversation. So we applied to Story Hive and got season 1 and season 2 funding. So we've talked to educators, rocket scientists, uh, people who are just enthusiastic. Robert Thirsk, who spent 6 months on the ISS, people who've actually been in space, people who are just talking about going to space or joining the narrative, and how Albertans can be a part of that conversation, because we do have an oil and gas presence, and there is unlimited resources on asteroids, and there's a plethora, unlimited amount that we could be benefiting from. But it unlocks a lot of question marks, like, should we, what does it mean for humankind? And it's been really great. We've had such great conversations with people, and hopefully we get a season 3 where we can talk about weird shit like aliens and probing. And I said shit, so sorry, I said it again. But
All good. All
Sandra
good.
Lynn, Sandra Lynn is our amazing writer and producer. And yeah, did I miss anything, Sandra Lynn?
No. I was going to say, like, in our.
I can't hear you, bud.
Oh, really?
Oh, I can hear her. I can hear her.
Oh,
All good. I feel like I've learned more from space in just the 8 episodes you guys have done already, and even things that you take for granted, like GPS and some of the stuff they're doing, tracking weather and wildfires and all this. And the fact that Alberta is so involved in all this stuff, I think it's great. We do kind of have that Western outlaw spirit, and when there's a frontier to, in our DNA, the people, our grandparents, our great grandparents that came here, they took a risk. They came across an ocean, or they came across the continent to start a life out in the Wild West, and I think that DNA is in us a bit, to that the next frontier, space, the moon, Mars, all these things. I think why not? I think
Starbucks, Milky Way, the
the
Microsoft
universe.
moon.
Andromeda Galaxy.
Well, what we know is that space is really hard, and we've had this conversation with a lot of people, is that it's not for the faint of heart. Not everyone's going to be able to survive it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're saying that the world's going to end up in space, but it's definitely that next frontier, like you said, Cameron, and it's ready to be explored and known more, because we might find the mysteries of the universe out there, and there's just so much that we just don't know about, life in general. So it's been really fascinating.
I'm always. Oh, sorry. Go, Scott.
Yeah, can I ask, based on all your interviews and what you think? Do you think space is going to be more Star Wars, Star Trek, The Expanse?
Yeah, where
are we going?
In movies. Frame it in movies.
Star Wars.
Well, if you want to say that, I feel like it's going to be way more boring than the movies. Like, it's going to be very clinical and boring. It's not going to be as exciting as our imaginations. That's my.
Yeah,
I actually think that's a great thing.
Boring is good.
Boring is good, and it's safe.
Good.
Yeah. Boring is absolutely safe. Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite space movie?
Megan.
It's a good question. I'm just gonna just bring this up because I can't hear Sandra Lynn, and I can hear everybody else, but I can't hear Sandra Lynn. So
we can hear both of you. At least I can.
Yeah, I can as well.
I was having problems hearing you guys at the beginning too, so it might be a problem on my end. But if it's too hard to fix right now, because I'm not super technically apt, but just let me know what she's saying. I'll try to read her lips.
Sure. I can recap.
Okay.
Stuff. Yeah.
Okay, great. Favorite, honestly, it's interesting, like a sci-fi Western, that whole genre I'm so down with. I'm down with like the crossover genres. Space movies, of course, Interstellar, which was filmed in Alberta, and we bring up quite a lot because it's one of the, in my opinion, one of the best films ever made about space.
Mhm.
And we talk about things like Moon. Have you ever seen Moon, the Sam Rockwell film?
Yeah,
And
Moon is one of
Where
my favorite
David
movies.
Bowie's kid
Yeah.
directed it. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, totally. It
yeah.
is such an incredible story, and there's so many crossovers with within the space community, even in like a beauty like David Bowie,
Mhm.
with his amazing song about space. Uh, Anyway, so that's one of my favorite films just because it really paints a picture of how it would be to live in space and work in
Mhm.
space and to go through that psychosis that you just don't know what that would be like. And of course, 2001 Space Odyssey.
Mhm.
We talk about it a lot in season 1, episode 4 with Brian Versteeg, who is a award-winning graphic designer who you guys would love Dave and Scott because you're both into the the video game world. But he designs space worlds that have the potential of happening. So he
Mm.
sees it from a lens of habitation, but also of you know extracting minerals um, from an asteroid, and it's just beautiful. You should check him out. He does a bunch of freelance work, and he's working on his own video game with Zach, and it's called his company's called spacehabs.com.
Hmm.
That's really
Beautiful
neat.
work. Beautiful work. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
the idea
and
of exploring it based on practicality. That's something you don't really see in most
right.
films. Like Ad Astra, I felt there was a element of practicality in that movie. So,
Mhm. One that I love is Silent Running,
mm,
which came out kind of just before Star Wars, and it was a big influence on the droids in Star Wars. But it's basically about Bruce Dern is living on a biosphere type planet because Earth has been like it's no longer livable. So they're testing out the idea of can we grow forests in space and stuff. And then something happens, and I can't quite remember exactly. I think it's they find a new place where all the humans are going to live, or they kind of perfect it on another ship, and they decide we're going to destroy the ship you're on and all his plants and all his hard work, and he rebels against it to try to keep his biosphere alive. It's a very interesting,
well,
very
he
cool
he has
movie.
the last of the plants, and so it's like this
Yeah,
weird, interesting dichotomy of uh, if we take all these people in, we lose all of this forever. And so
yeah,
like, and that's him rebelling against this idea of like, it's like the seed storage around, you find like around the world.
yeah,
Imagine we had to destroy those because we need 10 more humans or something. Like
yeah.
it's
It's a
it's
very interesting movie. Yeah,
yeah.
it's cool. And the way you described your guest on that episode, he's almost like the Ralph McQuarrie, where he has to like design a livable world. It's very cool, very cool. What a fun gig.
Yeah.
It's been really cool.
Now, as for Westerns, have you seen this one before, The Rider, 2017?
Yes, because it was homework.
Ah, yeah. Homework, yes, absolutely. But you hadn't seen it before I sent it.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, it was a pretty big deal when it came out. And I remember that conversation about the director, but I didn't get a chance to see it. This is one of the 30 on this list that I had never seen before this. So I was excited to dive in. How about you, Dave Scott? Had you seen it before?
No, I hadn't. It definitely kind of a docudrama, kind of a feel to it. And didn't get a giant release. Like
No.
this was a film festival film. This was an indie film.
And it
Very
predates her, I think. So like the Eternals and No Man Land.
Nomadland.
Yeah. I think put a lot of spotlight on her.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And which I've seen the Eternals. I think that was the first film of hers I've seen. This is number 2. The Eternals for me was more of the Marvel stuff, but I liked it. I thought it was actually a really beautiful film. It might not have hit the mark that of the Marvel side of it, but as a standalone, I actually don't think it's terrible.
I agree.
This movie, on the other hand, is, as we discuss, is maybe the best I've seen, and so a lot of talent, and I can see why she gets the praise she does. This movie is incredible. I really liked it.
She shoots in a certain style. I mean, that a very small crew. Megan's going to restart. That might solve her sound issue probably. But there was 6 people on this crew. It was her and 5 other people. So like the gaffer was also the key grip, was also the dolly grip, was also the DOP, was the cameraman. Like everybody was just, and she goes into this community in Pine Ridge. She's from Beijing, China. She went to high school in the UK and then NYU Film School, where she was taught by like Spike Lee and everybody. So she has this kind of very urban, she's been in all these major cities, London, New York, Beijing, and then she decides, I'm going to go out to South Dakota because I think they have stories. Yeah. And she makes her first film. She admits it was maybe a little bit too ambitious. This one, a little smaller, a little more intimate. And I think she found that when, if she was a documentary crew and she was trying to get them to open up about their lives, they wouldn't have opened up about their lives. What they liked was that it was fiction, and so she'd say, well, this isn't you, this is a character. So it kind of gave them a freedom to, even though they're not actors, it gave them a freedom to just kind of act a little and maybe say things, talk about injuries or thoughts or feelings that they wouldn't have thought about or told about if it was under the lens of, this is a documentary truly about me. So that kind of got her into that world, and it ends up becoming a very personal, very touching movie, I think.
I've really enjoyed the movie, and now that you've given me some like backstory details about them shooting like with 6 people, I think it really shows how intimate the experience was for the newcomer actors, I guess, and it showed on screen, and it was a really great, I guess, method technique for her to use.
Yeah, it worked.
I think it's a mark of a really.
Sorry, go ahead, Megan.
Sorry, now that I'm back, I'm excited to talk. Sorry.
Yeah.
Talk, please.
Honestly, guys, I'm a professional podcaster. I know what I'm doing. I'm not in the studio. I think it's just a mark of a true director, like a really good director. And No Man's Land was very similar, right? So it's so unique to be able to take or get people who aren't actors and get a genuine performance from them, like you're watching a doc. Like I really liked it, and some would comment that it was slow, or that it didn't move as quickly as other films do, but I think that's the beauty of it. It's the realism of it, and she stayed so true to the people, and it's probably very far away from how she lived her life.
Absolutely.
Which is very unique. Yeah.
One of the things I found myself enjoying about it is, how you wait for like the end of Act 2 and the big, so I assumed he was going to get on a horse and try again, and that was going to be like the Nope. And it's such a small, it's the hand not being able to open. It's such a small, compared to most films, but it's the right scale for this film. Like it just...
Subtlety. There's a lot of subtlety.
Yeah, and I found that refreshing, actually, like where it was just like almost slice of life in a weird way, where like The Sopranos, come in here, we're going to end here. This is the story we're telling. There's more on this side, there's more on this side, but this is what we're interested in. And it didn't feel grandiose. It felt personal, and it worked really well for me.
It's intimate.
I was going to say, I one of the notes I made was there was a story here, but there wasn't a plot.
That's true.
Right? like Scott said, we're waiting for something to happen, but everything just goes and flows. There's no big beats. There's a few small beats in there, but there's no big giant moment.
It's not waiting for, like, and I think that's we're waiting on it based on like the film structure.
Yes,
it's engrossing film. I found myself really digging into this film, and it's not like there's no big like brawls and there's no big like explosions. There's there's the the end of Act 1 and the end of Act 2. Those story beats come and go, and you don't even realize they've come and go because it's so natural to this film that, like, if you were look at it from like a cynical studio side, you're like, there's no big Act 1, big Act 2 payoffs and the hero, whatever. It's just life, and it's told in such a grandiose way with such a minimal scape, and it just works so well. I actually found myself really, really engrossed in this.
Well, it's that moment.
Go ahead, Cameron. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's that moment, like when you're going towards a dream, or you're a real part of a world, and then something happens and you can't be part of that world anymore, or that dream is over. You didn't get drafted into the NHL, or you didn't, or your singing career or whatever. There's always this moment where it's like, okay, where do I fit in that? Like what can I still do?
Who am I?
Can I still be part of this? Who am I? Right, exactly. And you're not necessarily your job, you're not necessarily your hobbies, but at the same time, it was a real crisis. And then he had this other side of it, where his friend Lane was injured in the car accident and was even worse off than him, and was really starting over on everything. So he kind of had perspective of like, there's still people involved in rodeo, and I wish I was doing that, but I'm also here for my friend, and I'm my hand's acting up, and I maybe can't do what I want to do. But it was scripted. It was a 65-page script. It wasn't totally documentary, but there were lines that just said, Brady trains a horse, and then it's like 9 minutes of just what happens, and that was real live footage of him training a horse, and that to me was some of my favorite stuff. Like, that was so interesting to watch and watch it unfold. It was dramatic.
Him training the horse was one of my favorite scenes. That section there, those couple of scenes were my favorite of the whole film, honestly.
Me too. Me too. And the connection with the horses, right? Like his connection to the first horse,
Gus.
And I think that horse was Lane's horse, right? Did he say something about him being connected to Lane in some way? So it's like he's connected to his best friend who rode that horse, and then the horse that he purchased, or his dad purchased for him. And the relationship. I want to ask you guys a question after I'm done this thought, but I love that the horse played a character. That specific horse was him in a horse's body, and that he, that was part of the realization too, that if he was a horse, he would have been shot and killed for that injury that he had, and he gets to be the beneficial, human that is able to come and bounce back from that. But my question for you guys, putting my podcast host hat on, is what are your thoughts on his real family, his real dad, his real sister, and they're having to put in this dramatic conflict? Like, his dad has an addiction to gambling, and I wonder if that was real. Cameron, you probably know because you did all your research, but and the sister having this she's on the spectrum. How that all came together, and if it caused more friction into their relationship. Well, what do you guys think?
I feel like this was an intervention that would just happen to be filmed. It's really, I honestly would be fascinated to find out. I do believe that was the dad through and through, like, as in, like, that's I come from a small town, and I know these people.
I think it's that sort of that same idea where I don't think feel like if he had a real gambling addiction, he wouldn't have felt comfortable talking about it. But because he was playing a character with one, I think that helped. I will say that his mom is alive, and is in the movie. She works at the rodeo and pushes the horse out of the chute. So I think they're a lot more involved in the horses altogether. But his sister, I think it's Asperger's that she has, and I think that's all real. Apparently, she had the time of her life. She loved being on film, and
I never got the impression the mom was dead. When they're sitting in the truck and he's like, she's chasing her dreams just like you're trying to do, and see how that she left us just like you want to leave us kind of thing, right? Never made me think that. I think honestly it was just between the addiction, the sister, and maybe this isn't how I saw my life going. She just packed up and left. Is the impression I got at least.
Well, she's in real life. She's very much around, but I think it worked dramatically. I think it created an interesting because he was forced to get a job and when the landlord comes around, I love that he steals a beer from the fridge, because he's owed 3 months rent, so take a beer, go for it. It reminded me of Biff Tannen from Back to the Future, but the idea that his dad's not making rent and where's that money going, and he better step up and get a job and get some responsibilities. And then he's also kind of a big deal. People come up to him when he's at work and they're asking him about bronc riding, and he's almost like a little celebrity. So you could see where it's hard to let go of that. And even the way he words it, he's like, well, I'm just sort of doing this while I recover, and I know exactly what he's talking about, because working in film, you get in between shows, or if you pick up another thing and people are asking you like, oh, what project are you on? And you're like, I'm not on something. And you kind of, well, I'm doing this while, the strike is on, or this, I've had those conversations before. I know exactly how he felt. And, I was going to say Chloe Zhao also directed a Budweiser ad for the Super Bowl.
The horses one?
It was the Clydesdale, and it's that similar what Megan was saying, a horse recovering from an injury. And in that one, the horse is given a chance to recover. And it's a 30-second ad, maybe 45 seconds, because it's a Super Bowl ad. And I was in tears. It's so moving, and it's so different because it's a horse and not a human, maybe. But I think she's a very, very special director, and she finds a way to make us cry in 30 seconds over selling beer. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, super talented.
Yeah, and this was definitely, you could tell if you've seen, even if all you've seen is the Eternals, you can really see her fingerprints all over this. It's Chloe Zhaoing. For lack of a better way to put that. Like, it's so raw, and it had a quietness about it that you can only get in an indie film. As soon as you take that step from independent to Hollywood-ish, you start having a higher budget, you start having more music is one of the things that comes into that. And we had this discussion on this show a few times where it's the music sets the tone, the music has to balance and feel like it's the same level. And this, because there was so little of it, it became its own atmosphere, a different sort of an atmosphere that you don't usually get in a lot of films.
My biggest critique, and I'm going to switch over here, and then I'm going to pass it to, I want to hear what Sandra has to say, but is I don't think I could watch this film again. I believe now that I understand the story, the more I think about it, the more I look at it, it's weirdly heavy-handed in some ways. So every person he meets along the way is what could have been. You have the farmer friend missing his hand. You have in some ways, the sister, the mom, the dad. Like, everyone is a path not taken. Or even some of them is, if I take that path, I will end up like this, right?
Yeah.
And you really see that with him whistling for Apollo at the end, is him coming to it. And I feel like now that I understand the story being told, I feel like I would see behind the curtain a little more and see this. And I'm only coming to this revelation as we chat here in the last about 35 minutes. That I'm like, wait a minute. I love this film. It's beautiful, but I feel like on rewatch, I would get less out of it, not more. And that bothers me a little.
The fact that it ties together and that there's a poetry to it, I think just kind of proves that she, again, like sometimes the more simple the story is, the more powerful the imagery can be. Like you talk about, like sometimes movies are very complicated and they need to be complicated. And something like this, it's quiet, it's pretty, it's more about what's going on the inside of this young man. It's not necessarily, if you added any more complication into the story, or if there was any more kind of, like if, for instance, if at the beginning of the third act, he got back into rodeo. And what it reminds me of a little bit is the movie The Wrestler.
Yeah.
Because in The Wrestler, there's kind of, or even The Simpsons, when Homer was the human cannonball, or, when Homer was taking the cannonballs to the gut, you get to this point where it's like the doctors are saying, if you do this again, you will die, or you could die. And usually in the movies, they do it again. They like The Wrestler, it ends with him jumping back in the ring, and Homer gets right to the point where he's about to get the cannonball, and he doesn't, luckily. But yeah, the movie way of doing this is you get back in the ring, you go for it again. And the fact that he doesn't, it's kind of a more realistic, it feels more like, he looks over and he sees his family, and his family's there. Are they there to support him? Are they there to discourage him? It's never really said. It just, they showed up, and it's about, if something happens to me, what's going to happen to them? And so I still think that, I have watched it a couple times now. Like I said, I hadn't seen it before this, but my first rating was lower than my second rating. So it's interesting that you would say that you wouldn't watch it again, or it does. I mean, it's not a fun movie. It's not, it's not something, it's not feel good. It's maybe not even an easy recommendation. Which is why I brought two guests on. Now I can make more people watch it. But the idea of, like, your is it rewatchable? Maybe it's not meant to be, but it's funny that I did go up in rating from the first to the second.
Sandra?
I was going to say, I think it was an emotional experience. Like how Dave said, like it was a movie with very little plot. It was, it's more character driven and more emotions. And I think for me, it would make me self-reflect on what I would do if I was in that situation. Like it got me to think about how dangerous that sport is, and rodeo is, and the fact that his buddy got into a car accident, and that's how his life is now. And he's just so brave. Like, it just makes me look at my life and appreciate everything that I have right now, because you never know, like anything can happen to us. And so I think I might watch it. I'd watch it again. And it, as painful as it, as emotional as it was, and how it's a sad movie, I think it really opens up a lot of feelings of gratitude for me. I'd watch it again, because for me it was very beautiful. And
that side of it,
I didn't think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Megan.
I didn't think it was super sad. Like, it was definitely emotional. It had that emotion. Like, it was driven heavily by his, identity. Like, who am I if I'm not a rodeo superstar? And I feel like, Scott, like you did say, like, there could have been more, and maybe if they, like, lent into his, like, feelings of, what does he do next? Or I don't know. There was something missing, and I see what you said about maybe not watching it again, and that there may have been something that we could have driven a little bit deeper into the story. Maybe there was a partner that was involved in, I don't know, but maybe that would have overcomplicated, like Cameron said.
Yeah.
That's
I
But I
like
do.
that's not what I meant, actually, if I can clarify.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry.
You ever watch something where the metaphor is so heavy-handed that it's like, oh, and I feel like because what this we're except for the 20 somethings we have with us on this podcast, that we're a little on the older side up here. And while I watch this, I found myself relating to this entirely. Like, I'm like, I get this, I love this. And then what I got to is every person in this film is pushing this narrative. There's no B plot, really. There's just this one. And I find myself thinking, like, over and over again, being like, oh, he could have been the dad. 10 years from now, he's the dad. If whatever happened and how it happened, he could have been the sister.
Well, and
I don't want to get into that argument. He could have been.
Did sit with his dad at the VLTs for a bit, and and addiction is a problem in the community. And
he could have been his friend. He could have been. He could, and it felt like every person he met along the way was the Yoda. Star Wars. There you go. It was every person was a lesson in some way, shape, or form, and that's where I went, oh. Maybe, and I think it works really well because the story itself is fairly real and grounded. But the more I think about it, the more where everyone is the wise old person, or the looking in the mirror character, or the what if character. And that, on a second watch, I feel like I might be able to peer behind the curtain a little more if we're going to continue with film metaphors here and understand how it happened. And I feel like I love this film. I love this film. I really do. And I'm worried that on a second watch, I would start to pull at the threads and I would like it less. And that's what I meant by I couldn't watch this again. I think it's the right length. I think everyone is really perfect in it. I have zero notes on all of that. And as we talk about it, the more and more I realize is I'm wondering if it's like a carnival ride, that if the lights turned on, I would start to see how it was put together. And I might pull from it. I want to love this for what it is. I felt myself watching this being like, I got to show my partner. I think she would love this film. I think she would really. I don't know if I could sit in the room and watch it with her without being like, oh, okay, so that character is exactly this character and this. And I start to be cynical about what this is. When he's, again, the whistling for Apollo is a big one for me. Where this whole film is about how he's a man and can do his thing, but he can't do this. And this is where the dad comes in. This is, I will protect you from this one, son. The selling of Gus, he's so mad about it, but it's not about the horse per se. It's about his connection to his friend. It's all these little things. And the more you see the sausage being made, I think is the metaphor we're going here, the more I feel like I will like this less.
I think I get it. I think you just see too many parallels and too many convenient moments of stories kind of coming, like that same story.
But I love this film. I really love this film.
Sometimes that can be a happy accident. I've been involved in stuff like that where you're writing or you're making a movie and then you kind of realize, oh yeah, this character is sort of paralleling what this is like. And sometimes it's discovered along the way. And I imagine the editing process of this and the way they shot it. Maybe some of these metaphors were kind of drawn in post-production or even by critics that have written about it, where they're finding things that subconsciously Zhao wasn't even intending. It's all kind of very possible.
The thing about it is this might be too deep. Is actually maybe my problem with it. I love deep. I love thinking. I really like. I don't like I said more than once. I like my films being gray, and there's a lot of gray in this. But maybe it's too gray. Actually, maybe it's too real, and that's where I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe this is. We've now found each end of it, where like a film like Blazing Saddles on one side, where it's just like, oh, this is not deep at all, but whatever. And then we have this on the other side. And I like maybe something a little more on this side, but still a little.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the problem.
It's interesting that you.
It's a.
Go ahead, Megan.
Oh no. I totally understand it, and I feel like it's a filmmaker's dream film, right? Like doing something, maxing out your credit cards, being like, I don't have anyone to tell me how to make this film. I'm going to make it myself. You know, I think her partner was a cinematographer as well. And he's like, give me your credit cards. Got a higher limit. Like, who knows? They were just racking up. But the fact that I think it was $80,000. I don't think that the budget was that high at all. So it's
Sandra says it all right there. It's just like, wow.
Beautiful.
It was when
such an incredible.
I think it was when we lost you for a minute there, but it was a 6-person crew.
Yeah.
It was only 6 people on the crew, which is a phenomenally small crew. I've worked on a feature film with only 17 people, and even then was bare bones. So the fact that everybody kind of had that same outlaw spirit of like, pick up the camera, pick up the gear, let's follow these, let's, ratchet strap this to a truck and follow him along while he's driving. I think it is probably a project that bonded these 6 people plus the cast together in a very, very magical way.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Dave, you were going to say?
I was going to say, it's interesting that Scott kind of went, I don't necessarily want to watch this again because I would see the behind the scenes. One of the notes I had made is I shouldn't have to do research to like a film. And I put that kind of a negative way, but that I at the beginning of this, I went into it with this is one of the top 100 films in Westerns. I had a preconception based on that. Once I kicked it, I literally had to go and while I was watching and pull up Wikipedia and read a little bit about what this was that I was watching, because I think when they brought up when he first interacts with the guy with only one hand, I went, this feels like an indie film. This doesn't feel like a big Western. Oh, it is.
Very indie film.
One of the cool things, it won the Art Cinema Award at Cannes Film Festival when it premiered there. And that's very much, that's Chloe Zhao. This was an art house film.
Oh yeah.
That just happens to be a Western. And you have to put that lens on when you're viewing this to really enjoy it. I felt the more I knew about the story behind the story, the more I appreciated the film. So almost the exact opposite of Scott.
Did any of you have like a Criterion Collection DVD set?
Not of this.
Criterion, no, like just in general, because I feel like Criterion, like since digital and being able to just access any content, films and television online, there's not a drive to know more unless you really like the film. Then you go online and you start Googling, and then you start really appreciating the making behind. But like, I miss the Criterion collections. I have like a Criterion collection from like Dazed and Confused, and the amount of extra content that I have, and I have a new appreciation for the film. So part of me agrees with you, Dave, but I disagree that like I do want to know, I appreciate filmmaking more when I see behind the curtain, when I do research on something.
That's what I'm worried about, is what I'm getting at is, and I think reliving this film, I might relive it like Dave just said. I think as we Cameron and as we chat about what this film, how it got made. It's like Clerks. Love Clerks. It's very similar kind of like, and so the more where Clerks is like, I love the film. It's what, but I find every time I want to go back to it, I always more like the making of stuff, or like I want to read. I've seen the film. I know what it is. I've seen the film a couple times. I want to know why the film and how the film and who the film, like, and what the film, I guess, if we're going through the W's here. And like, it's like, I find myself, and then every time, if you haven't seen Clerks 3, that's what Clerks 3 is this celebration of how Kevin Smith got here. I would love if she did a documentary of 10 years on, because we're going to be close to that, about who these people are now.
Totally.
Especially because they're real people, a real place, a real time, a real. I would love to see that, and that would make me feel the film again without me being cynical that it is a film. It is like it does feel of this moment. I don't know. It's like the worst example I could give is like how if you're older than 20, we'll say 25, everyone has that "where were you on September 11th" moment, and there we relive that. I don't want to watch that again, but when you relive it and you experience everyone else's take on this moment, where were you, how whatever, right? I would love to relive this moment because it feels so real and grounded, like that I can make that comparison. I'd love to relive this moment, but from other people's point of views. And so a documentary about, hey, where are they now, shot in a similar style, even not, does it have to be a film, it could be documentary style. I would love that. I think that would make me love this film more.
They're very, very compelling people, and I'll tell you that Brady is one of the top horse trainers in that community, and he's still training horses, and so I think the film made it seem like training horses was also a little too dangerous for him to be doing. However, that hand gripping affliction is not something he really suffers from. That was kind of a
scripted element,
a scripted thing based on a lot of different things that he was experiencing in his rehab. I also found it interesting that Lane Scott was such a personality and such an up and coming star in the bull riding world. There was actually a reality show gearing up to follow him in his career.
Oh, wow.
And when he got hurt and his career was over, the reality show packed up and went away and probably followed somebody else, which is wild to me because even Zhao says that's when the story should start. You know, like there's compelling things happening in these people's lives, and everything that's happening is worthy of putting on film. And I think it's so interesting. It's such an interesting idea. Would they go back and do a sequel or a follow-up, or a 15th or 10th anniversary, 15th anniversary, where are they now kind of thing? I think it'd be really interesting. Even a short film.
Everyone has a battle you can't see. Everyone's fighting a battle you can't see, and this is for once where you get to see this battle.
Yes.
Right. And that I found fascinating, and I think that's the heart of this film, is that person you walk by on the street looking down on their phone or asking for change or celebrating something. They are going through stuff you don't see. And we live in a time where everything we put out on social, especially on social media, is so curated that the realness is lost. And that's what this film is to me, is this, let's get through the bullshit. There you go. And get to life. And I think my heart hurts to think that I would pull that apart on a second watch. But to have a film like this and to be able to even say these words and think about a film this way is pure art to me. This is all coming from a place of how much I love this film. So
it's a testament. It's a testament to how impactful it was. And I've seen movies before. I mean, Dancer in the Dark comes to mind, the Bjork film, where it's a beautiful film, but I don't want to see it again because it created this absolute moment in my mind of it was almost like seeing something live, and you just pack that into your heart and move on with your life, and you don't necessarily need to. I mean, I'm the type of person who watches movies over and over and over. And it's funny that you guys talk about like researching the movie. That was the difference between my first watch and my second watch. Was the first time I was just going into it blind, knowing a little bit about her style and having seen two of her other movies. I kind of was like, okay, I know what I'm kind of getting into. And then I started reading about Brady, and I started reading about Lane, and reading about kind of the filmmaking process and the budget and the crew size. And watching it the second time, my rating went up because I had this greater appreciation for you know, even what she said, you know, somebody asked her in an interview, why do you think you were able to walk into this community and be welcomed with such open arms? And she said, because I'm Chinese, because I look the way I do, if a white American man walks into the Pine Ridge Reservation, there's baggage, there's guilt, there's stereotypes, there's preconceived notions from both sides. She said, I'm a Chinese woman with long black braids and a pair of jeans, and I walk in with a tiny little camera crew, and it just felt, I mean, they called her, I think, dog food woman was their nickname for her, because she always had dog food for all the dogs, because there's dogs everywhere. And she felt very comfortable in that environment, and they welcomed her. And I think it opened up a possibility to make a movie like this that is very rare. I don't think you're going to see this kind of relationship on film with the cast and the crew, you know, ever again, or if you see it, it's going to be rare.
100%. The outsider point of view of something, I think we all have more of an insider point of view of, just maybe because we're all a little burdened, and this isn't too far off what it is up here. Not to make it sound, like every day is Cowboy Day. Kind of is, actually, now that I think about it.
Well, the imagery, we talked about it on the Dances with Wolves episode, where literally it's like you know, these sunsets, these images that were so popular when it hit Hollywood screens. We see those sunsets all the time. We're so spoiled. I mean, this is what it looks like every night when I look out my window. So we are a little spoiled.
It looked like that here in Edmonton like 10 days ago. Almost minus the mountains, but yeah.
Yeah,
we're lucky. We're so lucky.
We're so lucky to be part of this. And even, you know, being on set and being around horses and working with natives so closely and stuff, we've definitely been given this opportunity to see into this world. But any moviegoer that is from New York or London, or, you know, the Mid East or Eastern Europe,
Asia,
seeing a movie like this, you know, for Zhao's family to turn on her new movie and it looks like this, just absolutely a window into a whole other world. It's beautiful.
But I feel like everyone would connect to the characters, even though it looks like that's why this film works. It's just, it's such a everyone's story. It's told in such a every day way through a expert lens, and that restraint is why this film is so good, in my opinion. Like, we don't have the Act 3 explosions. We're going to go attack the Death Star, whatever it ends up being. And so I feel like it was the right person at the right time and the right moment. And maybe once a decade we get something like this.
Yeah. And I've said before, directing is about taste. You know, it's about, you know, should I say it like this or should I say it like this? Should I have this watch or this watch? It's all about having the right taste. And I think obviously Chloe Zhao just has a sensibility and a taste level that's second to none.
And she's got a way with people.
Yeah.
Like that's a true test of a great director, is being able to get, and I said this at the beginning, like, to get that kind of performance out of people, out of actors, is a challenging thing. Real people, yes, it's like following people around with a documentary camera crew, but like you said, it was scripted, so it just didn't feel that way at all. It felt like we were just taking a glimpse into their world. And I have nothing negative to say about her direction style, because it was absolutely breathtaking. And it's interesting. I'll be interested to listen to the rest of your podcast, because a lot of these films, this top 100, are older, and they all fall into different genres. And like, why so many Westerns were made, I'm so curious to know. Like, what do you guys think? Why do you think Westerns have the popularity that they do, and especially back, you know, early filmmaking? time.
I think, and it's so funny. We've talked about it before. Like the oldest movie on this list, 1903, The Great Train Robbery, was about a robbery that happened in 1900. It was a 3-year-old story. I think the directors, the writers, the novels that were popular, the radio programs that Dave still listens to, everything that was popular as filmmaking was becoming, we can use these cameras to tell stories like we used to tell on stages. This was their childhood. This is how they grew up. This is the people that they knew. The same way, now we'll make movies about the 80s, and our parents' generation would make movies about the 50s or World War II. What was happening, the stories these people wanted to tell as soon as they had a chance to tell a story was the West. And then I think in the same breath, we want to tell these morality tales about good versus evil. And it's such an easy genre to fit stuff into. But even, some of the movies we've covered, the one was The Professionals, which was set in 1919. The director was, between 5 and 10 years old in 1919. And then he died in 93. So he probably saw Jurassic Park. Like we think about these timelines being so long ago, but it's really the life they were living, And
I come from kitchens, and one of the sayings we have in the kitchen is everybody just wants their grandmother's meatloaf, which is everyone just wants that moment in time that they have in their head, and they want to relive it as much as they can. And so that's something we always say, especially if we're complicating a dish, it's how do we strip it back to your grandmother's meatloaf? And
so simplifying it, and like it's the comfort in the simplicity.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering if a lot of to answer your question is, I'm wondering if a lot of this is they see, especially when you're 5 years old, me seeing Star Wars for the first time, I was around then. I think about that constantly. How Labyrinth. I think about that constantly. But when I view it, I'm wondering if I view it from the lens of then or from the lens of now. And that's when you go back and watch a film from your childhood and it doesn't hold up in the same way. I'm wondering if that's because
you're looking at it
now, not then. I made the mistake of showing someone the original Turtles movie, TMNT, that had never seen it when they were a kid. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, I love this film. I haven't watched it in like a decade. Why am I not liking it now? And I realized I was watching it from the lens of today and not when I was dressing up like turtles and doing all that stuff in the late 80s, early 90s.
That was probably the film you should have just watched once.
I disagree with that. That's a whole other podcast.
I wouldn't have got the Greats of Wrath reference when I was way back then. And so there's weird stuff in that film. But I'm wondering if 10 years from now, it's like when you watch stuff about like the 2008 housing crisis and all that stuff, it hits differently today because we've gone through the pandemic and we've gone through all this other stuff on top of it.
Even COVID movies, like movies set during the pandemic, and you see Eddington where they're in the store with all the masks and the way they're looking at the people without the masks, and it's just like, oh my God, we've been through this, and this it does, it hits a little different.
I feel like this movie is one of those ones that, like, if I go back and watch it in a decade, it's going to hit exactly the same but deeper. And that's as where I'm identifying with the son. How do I make bills, and how do I, when my art isn't quite paying all of it, to get a job, right? And in 10 years, am I the dad this time where it's, I have some money, not a lot of it, but I'm trying to drown out the whole idea of my life is come and gone. And that's a weird thought to me.
As your kids age, your perspectives change. I know, even watching Home Alone, I went from being Macaulay Culkin's age and thinking how fun would it be to be home alone, terrorizing burglars, to, now I'm probably older than his parents. And the idea of like, oh my God, what would I do if my kids?
The minute you ask, how did they afford that house? You're no longer
It's a beautiful
what
house.
did the dad do that he could fly like 30 of them to Paris?
There was a lot of bad stuff happening in the stock market. Probably, I don't know what it is. Well, let's get to our counts. Let's get, I guess one of our questions is, well, first of all, horses on film count. So we kind of do a 4-level horses on film count. We don't actually count all the horses, although that did happen one episode, or a couple maybe. But so it's either no horses, some horses, lots of horses, or all the horses. Let's start with Dave. Let's see what Dave says.
I went with all the horses on this one. I mean, the horses, if nothing else, the horses are so integral to this. You could not make this film without horses on any level.
Yeah.
So it while there's not giant cascades of whole herds of horses going through anywhere, they're so important that I have to go all.
Half this film has horses in it, more so than we've ever tried before. But
True.
The fact that, except for maybe once or twice, I actually remember the name Gus and Apollo, says to me that they are so important to this film. And seeing like the only other horse I can think of is Boxer from Animal Farm. Like that's like we've watched so many of these, and for the most part, the horses are just part of the set more than the characters. Props, yes, 100%. This is not that at all. That Apollo scene is so impactful and so important. It's all the horses. It's all about the horses. Like it is legit. The initial action is a horse problem. He falls off the horse and gets stepped on. It's all horses.
Yeah. How about
totally
Sandra
like
Lynn?
Sorry.
No. Okay, Megan, you get to go first.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No.
I would say that like the first shot is the horse is like up close. So it's like the detail of the horse. The horse is a character, like I mentioned before. So all the horses. I'm done talking. Sandra Lynn.
I was just going to add all the horses too, because that first shot with sorry, what's the main character's name?
Brady.
Brady and the horse, where he just pressed his head up against the horse, and there was just so much emotion. And I think there was a question that you sent, or there was a note where you said something about like how masculine are cowboys or something like that. Mm-hmm. But in that scene, there was just so much feminine, beautiful energy in that it spoke to me when I saw that. And I was like, oh, what kind of film is this? Because like I walked into the movie not knowing what it was about. And I'm like, am I ready for a Western? And yeah, it got me curious to wonder what the rest of the movie was about. So yeah.
I love those few opening frames where they're up close on the horse's eye, and the horse is so stylishly lit, and all that. It really sets the tone of like, oh, we're not watching a documentary. Yeah. If they had started with the real rodeo footage and then just got into Brady's story, I think it would have felt more docudrama, more documentary. But those first shots and some of the shots of him with the horse, like you say, like it was so close and so intimate. And then some of those scenes where he's training the horse from scratch, I think you're right. It's all the horses in how integral and woven the horse story was in the whole thing.
I think one of the more important things we didn't talk about is when he's putting the medicine on Gus's nose from when he's trying to get through it, but he's talking to him as if he's like how we all talk, like when I talk to my cats, but I'm like, hey, how's it going, buddy? That kind of thing. But like, I mean that in like a weird, almost baby way. He talked to that horse as if it was his friend. Like, like he was talking to, and he's putting the medicine on it. And when his dad says they're selling him, you can see it. He doesn't react exactly like angry like some would. He understands it, but he's hurt. And that's why this gets all the horses. Like it's just like it's.
And when he sees Apollo across the thing, he can tell. He knows horses. We've worked with people that can tell. They know a horse from the look of it, and he's going, that's a special horse. What's it doing here tied up to this fence? I have to.
Which makes Apollo's story so sad.
I know
I
Apollo's
know.
story. That's some of the hardest stuff to watch, and the way it was shot was. I mean, I cried during the beer commercial she shot. So I can.
When you see the fence, you see the blood on the ground, and you just know where this is going. Like
That
it's not.
was
Yeah.
There's no coming back. Like it's. I think a lesser filmmaker would have shown the injury, shown all the stuff, and then like glued it together detectively. It was no, we're showing you piece by piece of why we're about to have the dad show up and that whole thing. Oh, I'm almost tearing up. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so
and
good.
and it's true. There are a few moments in this film where he really needs his dad, and I like that about this story, that he wasn't doing this alone. He really needs his sister. He really needs his dad. It was all very real and touching and well thought out in that sense. You
It's interesting that you say that Sandra Lynn said about the feminine energy, because there wasn't really a lot of feminine energy, and I just wanted to say good call on that, because
Yeah.
that was probably a subtle kind of play that the mom's not around, and he's kind of taken on that role as kind of like a mother role, like, and also taking care of his friend, and anyway, I just wanted to say that was something I didn't think about.
And every time the sister talking about the bra, the dad keeps trying to put the sister in this more feminine angle because he's seen that, and she doesn't want to wear it. She's like, no, this is why, almost like, why does my brother doesn't wear this? Why do I have to?
Yeah,
Like
she said, I want to do 14 again. And I'm 14,
Exactly.
like, no, you can't, you're 15, and yeah, it really, there's really a lot of, I mean, even the scenes with him and Lane, I felt were just so touching, and, and we've all been there, either recovering from an injury or helping someone who's recovering from an injury or an illness or a sick family member. And it just felt so true. And I like that, Lane, when he was watching his old rodeo footage, they really could have leaned hard into him, tearing up and missing that world. But he was really, he was kind of a cocky guy, and he was really like loving it. He was loving seeing that footage. It wasn't upsetting him. It was empowering him, and I just liked seeing that. I liked that angle on it.
I think it was empowering for me to see his strength, despite where his body is and his mind is. Like, it was just
the acceptance of what has happened is something. They make whole films where stuff like this happens and they fight the whole thing. No, to be like, no, that's not what this film is. He's accepted the injuries.
Yeah.
And we're moving forward.
Yeah.
How about ratings? Let's get into ratings. Let's start with Megan. I want to start with Megan.
Oh my God. Because I'll probably interrupt somebody.
No.
Oh, that's my job.
Just kidding.
I do it too. So.
I'd say 4.2 out of 5.
Okay.
I would say that it's, it's always hard to rate something when you're, not necessarily, if you're rating it against, a list of 100 Westerns. I would say that it's a challenging one, because it doesn't have the same kind of, I don't know if this makes sense, but the Western feel. It has a more human feel, and it's just set in this beautiful Western landscape, and deals with, of course, horses. So I would say it's a pretty flawless film. I would say 4.2.
All right. How about you, Dave? We'll go kind of around here.
All right. I feel bad. My rating for this has been up and down since I turned it on. I went into it thinking it was going to be higher. I had a moment where I was down in like a 1.52. I'm just like, what am I watching? And it creeped up, and then it kind of bounced back down. At the end of the day, I'm kind of sitting at 3. It's a good film. Whether it is a good Western, I think we could go another hour and discuss that question specifically. But for the most part, I think it was a good film. I wouldn't necessarily want to watch it again, but I wouldn't say no to watching it again. If it came down to that.
All right. Yeah. Well, I always say like 3 out of 5 is a good movie. That's a 3 out of 5.
If I was rating this if I was judging a film festival, this would be a top film. This would be 5 out of 5 potentially.
Yeah.
Depending on the criteria. But in context of the criteria that we have as, best Westerns, I'm giving it a little bit lower.
All right. How about you, Sandra Lynn?
Oh, great. If I was just going to base it on how much I enjoyed it, how much it blew my mind because of how they shot it, 4.3. Like, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was beautiful. I would watch it again because now knowing that it was kind of based on real people and the story was a little bit fictionalized, I would like to watch it again so that I could like kind of put myself in their shoes and wonder what it would be like to act in this type of film. I think that's one reason I would watch it again, because I want to kind of know what it feels like to be Brady or the dad or the sister. And I'm playing a character in a film that's kind of based on me. That's cool to me. So
yeah.
All
right. And Scott?
So I've seen only a couple more films on this list, so there's still a ways to go. The film that comes to mind is, and this is going to be a weird comparison, but also maybe is this might be the Western equivalent of Schindler's List. Fantastic film. I don't want to watch it again. Like it's just like it hit.
I've only seen it once.
No, I've seen maybe Schindler's List twice, and that was and it's one of those ones where it's so impactful and so meaningful and so personal, and like it just hits on it's a 5 for me, by the way. But like it really, when you look at the films I give 5s to, there's a level of connection that I think puts it from a 4.5 to a 5. And again, maybe it's because like I'm originally from Medicine Hat. This is just what life is, kind of in a weird way down there, in a weird way. But like, I don't really want to watch this again. I like it for what it is. I'm going to see the Mona Lisa probably once, and I don't need to see it again. I see what it is. I'm good. I move on. That's kind of where I'm at with this, where I don't watch Christopher Nolan films outside of IMAX, because I feel like that's how it's meant to be. I feel like this is a film that's meant to be seen once, experienced, and then ruminated on for the rest of your life. And so it's a 5 for me.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. My original, so I've gone through all your ratings. When I started, it was a 3, and I thought, oh, it's a beautiful movie. It's a 3. And then I, like I said, I did more research, and then I watched it again, and then, her Budweiser ad made me cry. And then, you start thinking about all these moments where it really ties together, and what a feat it was. I say that sometimes movies they're not necessarily great movies, but they're great feats. Like, an example would maybe be Boyhood. Boyhood told an okay story, but the feat of making that movie over all that time is phenomenal. I think this one is not only a feat, it's a great film. I'm going 4.5. I think it's moved up from 3 to 4 to 4.5 every time I look at it, every time I think about it. The more I think about it, and the show is called Horses on Film. And what does it start out with but the most beautiful shots of horses? It just, to me, it did it. It was now the question is it a Western? Which we kind of our secondary thing here is we're kind of trying to quote unquote define what that means. And I think it truly is a Western. We've said before, it doesn't have to have a saloon brawl and a poker game and a a stranger coming into town and a sheriff. This is
the best when
about,
it does.
yeah, sure. When it does, it's wonderful and it hits on a whole other level. But the fact that this movie is set in the West, it's about the real people that really do this to make a living. I really feel it is a Western and list worthy. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm itching to say it isn't a Western. Daniel Plainview, who trains horses. If There Will Be Blood is not a Western, this is not a Western.
Famously, both Dave and I said that There Will Be Blood is not a Western. And though a great movie, we don't think it belongs on this list because it's not Western enough in its storytelling.
And that's what this is.
And I still feel this is a different kind of story.
It's the same. It's the same determination. It's the same spirit. Everything that There Will Be Blood is, and the fact that I can compare this movie to also, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm comparing this movie to some of the heights of their genres.
Sure.
Because it really is that good. But this isn't a Western, and it has the spirit, and it's almost there. Just because it's horses and in theory cowboys doesn't make it a Western.
So would you, in the end, would you take it off the list, Scott?
No, it belongs on the list. That's not
okay. You want it on the list. Okay.
That's not the issue. I believe when it's the top 100 Westerns, I think that's a spirit, not a genre. Mm-hmm. And so things like Hell or High Water, which we talked about, where I said it is a Western because of the spirit, not the genre. Where this is a Western in spirit, not the genre. There Will Be Blood is a Western in spirit, not the genre. That's maybe splitting hairs a little, but I believe there is like The Mandalorian is a Western, not the genre. The Firefly is a Western, not the genre. Like that's
there's definitely things that are Western in spirit, absolutely, and we're going to go through a lot of those, and I agree 100%. I could see either argument that this either is a Western, isn't a Western, belongs on this list, doesn't belong on this list.
Is the Western genre a spectrum?
Definitely.
Interstellar is a Western in spirit, not the genre.
Again, the Martian, where he
there you go. The Martian.
He heads out into the frontier and has to make a
like
life.
Stretching it out too much, because then you could say everything's a Western. If you
year 5. When we get to year 5, we'll be pulling in the West.
No, so it should just be
but like Star Wars is not a Western and or spirit. Like that,
okay.
Like the 7 by David Fincher is neither. It's not. There's a specific. I think what it is if you can feel that you can strip it out, and that there's that me versus the world kind of mentality, not just I'm a lone, edge runner trying to take on a corporation, not a Western. But that kind of I'm Case, I'm John Hurt from 1984, the movie, not a Western, but the spirit is there. This independence, me versus whatever. Not saying that 1984 is a Western, but yeah.
What do you think, Sandra Lynn? Do you think is this a Western? Is it not a Western? Is it list worthy? Is it not list worthy?
Okay, I was flip-flopping.
Yeah.
Until he brought up the spirit and the genre thing, because then to me, I don't think
my work here is done.
Don't think it's a Western, and I'm also considering whether or not There Will Be Blood is a Western.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take that off too.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
That was a big discussion because again, I think it's a 4-star movie. It's a 5-star performance, but as far as if I'm ranking a list of Westerns, it ranks quite low. Whereas I think this is this is a 4.5-star movie in my opinion, or even a 4-star movie, or even a 3-star movie. But it's also a 4.5, 4-star, 3-star Western.
I got a question for you then.
Yes.
Is Toy Story a Western?
Well,
it has a cowboy.
Toy Story 3 is a Western.
This has a cowboy too, but
Okay, well, I made a lot of trouble at work. We can get into this on another one. In our company, we had a company Christmas trivia contest a couple of years ago, and the question, I would have to word it exactly as they worded it, but the question was, which Christmas movie was the first ever full-length animated, completely computer animated film? So it's a mistake in a question, because the answer to the question is Toy Story was the first ever completely computer animated feature length film. That's what it was, feature length film. And the answer they were looking for was Polar Express.
I was going to say Polar Express, yeah.
Which was not only, like, it wasn't even close to the first fully CG movie. It's also motion capture, which is a combination of CG and live action. Regardless, anyway,
there was a riot at this Christmas party, is what he's going.
Yeah, it was a riot because I said Toy Story, and everyone said, "Well, Toy Story is not a Christmas movie," and I said, "Well, it ends at Christmas, and
God, I hate this.
It's about toys."
No,
I made a hard debate all over again.
You know, it's about toys. It came out on American Thanksgiving weekend and was in the theater all through.
This is like the spirit answer. It's the spirit of a Western. No, it's not a Christmas movie. No,
Toy Story is not a Christmas movie.
Toy Story is a Christmas
No.
movie. My wife said Dumb and Dumber is a Christmas movie because his name is Lloyd Christmas and they go skiing. So.
Oh God, no. God, no.
Oh,
she's not wrong.
It doesn't have the spirit of a Christmas movie.
Well, I mean,
it's okay. It's why this one is not. It's why the rider isn't a Western, but because all they have is a cowboy and horses, and you can't just use that alone to make it a Western.
Well, yeah, but it's about somebody who makes a living off the land, off the horses in the West. If you took this exact same story and set it in 1870, a guy that gets injured can no longer ride horses, can no longer get the cattle across to Dawson or to Dodge City or whatever. It would be the same story in a different time period.
Field of Dreams is a Western. I gotcha. About a guy who lives off the land, can't ride horses anymore, got injured. Yeah, you're right. Field of Dreams is a Western. I gotcha.
Okay, we got to move on to. Let's just be really quick about this. Are there any other movies? You guys saw the list of 100 Westerns. Is there anything on that that's not on that list that you think maybe could be on this list?
Well, I when I listened to the episode of today's episode, which if this is airing later, it's the episode that you talked about, Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
You mentioned that no Quentin Tarantino movies are on the list.
Correct. Yeah.
Like Hateful Eight isn't on there. And like, would I say, like, maybe the person who made this list is just like a hater of Quentin Tarantino stuff, which I get. He's very divisive. But I'm shocked. I was shocked by that because he loves the Western genre, and those are Westerns.
And he's currently in the news right now for saying some very rude things about Paul Dano's performance in There Will Be Blood, and that he would have ranked There Will Be Blood higher if it wasn't for Paul Dano's performance. And yeah, he sort of is one of those people that has an opinion. I've said before, I think there's things on this list that are on it because, like Rio Bravo and The Great Silence, because Quentin Tarantino has talked about them so much. So I don't get the impression that they were haters on this. I think they just didn't make the cut, which is surprising.
Why do you think they were left off?
I just think that they wanted to make room for other things, and I'd love to know. It was one of my biggest surprises. You're right that there's no Quentin on this, and I get it.
When we were planning this, Cameron used to say, if we do 100 episodes of this, maybe they'll contact us and be like, and we can ask her questions of why was Quentin Tarantino left off. That's the whole point.
I said I want to contact them and get them on the show, but not till we've established ourselves a few more deep.
Yeah, there you go.
That actually have our list. We'll compare our list to their list. Maybe I don't know, but
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Hateful Eight belongs.
glaring...
Django Unchained doesn't.
Sorry.
Hateful Eight belongs. Django Unchained doesn't.
Okay, maybe.
Yep.
I think we will end up covering them. We'll do bonus episodes on those ones, and maybe it'll become clear once we get through this list that they don't belong or that they do. We'll see.
I do have a horses on film, not a Western per se, but a horses on film story that or film that I loved when I was 5. So you said 5, 15, and 25. My 5-year-old self watched a film called Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken.
Okay.
Have you heard that about that? Have you
Yeah,
watched that film?
Yep.
And it's diving horses. And so it was such an incredible true story. And I was like so enamored with that film. It's very Disney. It's not a Western, but it's definitely horses on film.
Absolutely.
And when I was 15, City Slickers, which I think is on the list.
Yep.
It's on the list.
Then,
it's like 98.
Yeah. At 25, I watched a weird Chinese Western called Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh, yeah.
But when I say it's a Western, there's Western elements to it. And
Sure.
I think that was the reasons why I really liked it. And it was fantasy versus reality, which I'm a huge fan of, blending genres. And I thought it was an amazing film. And I don't know if I can watch it again. I don't know if I'm in the same place as I was when I was 25, but those 3 are my favorites. But
Yeah, those are good ones.
2 of them are not on the list.
One I thought of was the movie called The Horse Whisperer. And this movie reminded me a little bit of that. It kind of follows the same thing. There's an injury at the beginning. There's trauma. Then they end up taking the horse to Robert Redford, who, that idea of the dog whisperer, the horse whisperer, the Steve Jobs whisperer, all these, that term kind of was popularized. It's a very young Scarlett Johansson who loses her leg, part of her leg in an accident. And then it's about getting this horse back to a point, retraining it so it's comfortable around humans and it's not spooked easily, but then also getting her back kind of out of her shell of trauma and getting her back to where she feels comfortable around the horses too. It's a kind of a simplified movie. There's a bit of a cheesy love story in there too, but there was a lot of similar elements with this, and the idea of that those horse trainers that work so closely with these horses and really connect with them. It's an amazing art, And then, of course, some Malick films, Days of Heaven, one of my favorite, in just the tone, the way it's shot and all that stuff. But yeah, I do think this isn't coming off the list. I think The Rider's a beautiful movie. Our ratings were very high. I think it's going to be on there. So yeah. Let's just quickly talk about next week. We're going to, in 2 weeks, we're going to number 36 on the list, The Treasures of the Sierra Madre, 1948, directed by John Huston, starring Humphrey Bogart and Walter Huston. It's 126 minutes. It's one I've seen a number of times, but not for a long, long time. Maybe not since I was 25. So I'm looking forward to seeing that again. Kind of a, gold mining treasure, sort of movie, and one that's a little bit certainly different in vibe than this, and definitely in the conversation of top Westerns for sure. So looking forward to that. In the meantime, on the internet, let's start with you, Dave. Where can we find you until we're back here?
You can find me all over the internet, all over YouTube, on the every other Monday here, of course. Sundays on Spill the Geek Tea at Spill the Geek Tea 1. Tuesdays, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, where we talk Doctor Who. And the first Thursday of every month, Happiness Patrol with Scott and Cameron, where our first season we're talking about Star Wars, because of course we are.
Of course.
The whole point is
Star Wars.
Talk about something that makes us happy. No toxicity. Forget all of the negativity. We can be critical, but we don't be toxic there. In between all that, You can find me on my own channel, the Rat Hole DOTCA. That's the rathole.ca. But YouTube does not like URLs in their URLs, and that's where you can find me.
How about you, Scott?
Breakfast Scotch National, where I try to digest the news and try to put a spin on it that's happy. Lately, our premiere, has been really getting a lot of love because she's awful. To be frank, also Pawn and Pixel should be doing his thing by then. And so check me out there.
Cool. And Megan and Sandra Lynn, you're on Albertans in Space. What's happening with season 2?
Season 2 is going to be available to watch on Storyhive's YouTube, our YouTube, and Telus Optic TV starting April 2026. What'd you say, Sandra Lynn, sorry?
Stream Plus.
Stream Plus, yeah. And we are really excited to possibly get a season 3, where we will definitely just continue to explore all sorts of topics about space, ask your burning questions, and be stupid idiots like we are in real life.
Well, I can't
and
wait
Sandra Lynn
for
and
Sorry.
What?
Sandra Lynn and I are working on other projects as well. We're going to primetime at the end of January, so it's going to be great. Yeah. We're pitching a series that's near and dear to Sandra Lynn's heart, so look out for that.
Yeah.
We're hustling. We're hustlers.
Awesome.
Which is very on-brand Western.
Yes. Yeah. and space exploration. Like it all requires a certain level of hustle that we really appreciate. And thank you guys so much for coming on this. It really means a lot, and I'm really enjoying Albertans in Space, and I want to keep watching. So thank you for that. I'm here, of course, on Horses on Film. You can find me on letterboxd.com. Cameron Chapman. I'm talking about space movies. I'm talking about Star Wars movies. I'm talking about horses. I'm on there all the time. We have a letterbox for Horses on Film. This is where you can follow our lists. Some of the, our off the list bonus episodes are going to get listed there. Our ranking system, it's all on there. So follow our little journey along there. You can email us if you have any questions at horsesonfilm@gmail.com. Tell us what your favorite Western is. Tell us what bonus episodes we should do, because we'll probably cover them. Let's rack them up. Let's keep doing this. I'm having too much fun. And then our Instagram, Horses on Film Podcast. Every second Monday, I will post the intro video for what's coming up next week, and you can follow us along there and ask questions there and leave comments. YouTube.com @HorsesOnFilm is our main channel, where you can watch us, see us nodding in approval. You can see my hands doing all this, because that's all my hands ever do. Again, I really appreciate you guys all doing this, and I want to thank Brett Alec Bailey for a beautiful theme song. On the Albertans in Space podcast, you guys love a dad joke.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to leave.
Please tell us one.
I'm going to leave you guys with a dad joke. I'm a dad. So why did the cowboy get a wiener dog?
Why?
Because he wanted to get along, little doggy.
Oh.
Wow. Good night.
Have a good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the treasures of the Sierra Madre.